Co-owner of Capital Fitness and operating partner for Crunch Fitness, today's guest has driven growth in hundreds of fitness locations. He's also worked closely with UFC Gym, driving franchises in San Diego, and has been active in the rapid expansion of numerous dynamic brands. With over 35 years in the industry, there isn't much this man doesn't know about fitness and scaling a business. So for a lesson in how to get more from any venture, please join me in welcoming John Romeo to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Well, thanks, John. Thanks for inviting me down to this wonderful facility in Carlsbad.
Oh, my pleasure.
We're sitting in this dark room, and it kind of makes it. When I spoke to Jonathan, he says, "Well, they call him the mafia boss." So is this your kind of style? You know, you've got the gun under the table.
Don't believe everything you hear. Yeah.
Where did that come from? Is that just your sort of your personality, or what's that?
I don't think so, but maybe it has something to do with being from Brooklyn, New York, right, and being out in California. And Italian. Right. So you put those together, you might end up in the mafia. I don't know. Yeah.
He was saying, you know, you're very friendly, but you know, you also knew how to get things done. Well, and he didn't tell me how.
That's a trade secret.
Yeah.
Maybe you could squeeze it out of me over the next a few minutes in this interview here.
Yeah. So to give the listeners a bit of context, you know, how did you come in the industry, and how long ago it was? It was a few years now, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'll try to make it as brief as possible, but it's 40 years this year.
Wow.
And I don't like telling people that they go, well, if it's 40 years in the industry, he's pretty old. But it is 40 years, so I've seen a lot. And I was a union worker in New York, and working out in the holiday spas, which ended up being part of the Bally's company, because Bally's was a merger with Holiday, Jack LaLanne, and a few other clubs, and they formed Bally's. But I was working out pretty regularly, got to know the staff over there, and one day their area director asked, they said, hey, we're going out to California, we're going to open up some health clubs, why don't you come with us? And I go, what am I going to do out in California? He goes, well, you know, you need a break, get out of New York. I was really having way too much fun, you know, going out 8 nights a week, working, but going out 8 nights a week. And he goes, you know, let's get out of this rat race. We'll teach you the business. We'll fly you out. We'll put you up. We'll get your car, get your place to stay, give you a 6-month contract. And I said, okay, when you guys leave? And he goes, next Thursday. And I said, can I get back to you tomorrow? He goes, well, I'd really like to know about it today, but yeah, you can call me in the morning. I called him in the morning. I said, okay. He goes, the moving trucks will be at your house on such a day. And that's how he got into the industry. Ended up in Seattle with a group that was called Captain America's Family Fitness Center. And
Captain America's?
Captain America's. And they had like 30, 40 clubs in Washington and Oregon and at the time, and beautiful big clubs. And the whole plan was to come to Northern California and open up a chain of clubs. So we went up there for 9-10 months, trained, and get down to California and opened up what then became the 24-hour Nautilus facilities.
Right.
At that point.
Where did that name? Because so what was the company called that you was with at the time then?
Captain America's Family Fitness Center.
So when did it change to the 24-hour Nautilus?
Sometime in the mid-'80s.
Okay.
That particular company had some financial concerns at one point, and they were closing some of the doors in some of their clubs, and that's when the Leonard Schlem, who was Mark Mastro's original partner way back when, came in, and there was a couple of clubs for sale, and I was still working there. I got to meet him, hit it off with him, and he said, why don't you come to work for us? And I said, okay. I went to work for them, and got their chain up to 5 or 6 clubs. They had a couple of clubs in the Bay Area. And that's when I met Mark, and our first meeting was actually, our meetings we used to have on a monthly basis was in a room smaller than this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were plotting, how we were going to run the company and open the clubs, and that lasted almost 24 years. And when I left, I went through the whole series of positions. I actually came on as a district manager, ended as a divisional president, running, close to 100 clubs in 5 states, and over a 23-24 year period. And then at that time, Mark had moved on, And about a year or so later, I moved on and took some time off, and for a couple of years. And Mark called back and said, "Hey, you know, we're thinking about doing this Crunch deal and doing the franchise play then on the Crunch model. You know, you're tired of playing golf and sitting on the couch. You're doing whatever you're doing." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Put me in, coach." And then we did a joint venture with them, and we opened up our first 2 clubs in San Diego and 2 malls, the Westfield malls in El Cajon and Bonita.
Right.
And then that was about 7 years ago. And over the past 7 years, we spent developing another 9 or 10 locations here in San Diego.
Right.
And that's kind of where that's the story.
Yeah.
You know?
And when you started the 24-hour Nautilus then with the 2 clubs, what was the industry like at that time? You know, was it very different from what it's like today?
In a lot of ways, the industry is different. In a lot of ways, it's the same. Obviously, the equipment, the facilities, the offerings have advanced. There's more competition in the marketplace. But the clubs that we had in Northern California were nice-sized clubs. They were 30, 40,000 square foot facilities. Some of them had pools. They were nice, and they were priced, $25 to $35 a month, and we started doing the dues programs back then, and getting away from prepaid memberships, and tried to find our identity and really what our brand essence was and was going to be. So we grew a few clubs from there, and at one point Mark had come and said that he had an opportunity to buy the family fitness centers down here in San Diego, and I think at that point 24-Hour Nautilus had 30 some odd clubs, 35, 36 locations. Don't quote me on the exact amount, but somewhere in the 30s. And the Family Fitness Center, Ray Wilson's clubs down here, it was 60-something clubs. So they ended up merging the 2 companies, and I think overnight became one of the largest privately held health club companies in the world. And they, at some point thereafter, went from 24-Hour Nautilus, and you had the other company which they purchased, which was Ray Wilson's Family Fitness Center. They merged the 2 companies, and they said, we're going to be now 24-hour fitness. Right. So the name Nautilus went away, fitness came in, and that's how all that came about.
What was the Nautilus connection in? Because weren't they equipment manufacturers?
Yes, they were. Right. And the clubs in the Bay Area, I don't know the total backdrop behind those clubs, but they were, Jim Plunkett, the quarterback, the Oakland Raider quarterback, had something to do with the clubs. And a couple of clubs were called Nautilus Super Spas, and they were acquired by the group I was with. And so how they came up with the name, I don't know.
No.
It might have something to do, now that you asked me the question, when I went in the club, it had all the old heavy, big frame Nautilus equipment.
Right.
That's the most of the equipment they had besides free weights. So that's probably the connection there.
Something to do with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So going back, it started off that group you were with started off just with a few locations. What do you think was the reason it went on to be as successful? If you had to think back to some of the ingredients now, looking back on it then, what would you say was some of the magic sauce that kind of,
Well, you had a great visionary in Mark Mastro.
Really?
And it was easy to follow his lead. And he always gave people enough room to spread their wings and share their ideas. And he had a tremendous growth plan. I remember one of his big, hairy, audacious goals at one point was to have the first health club on a space station. If you think about it, it's pretty aggressive moves. But it was easy to follow his lead. But you had a lot of people that had similar vision, that worked real hard, that were a cohesive group, and took full-on advantage of the opportunity the real estate market at the times, and we did what I would consider an excellent job of recruiting from within. Because if I had to think back, you know, the hundreds, even thousands of managers and district managers and all the operations, and I don't recall bringing anybody really from the outside, you know, into the company. It was all homegrown. So when you bring people through a system, and we had some pretty sound systems. We did regular training, regular coaching, regular supervision, and we wanted to get that brand and that culture out so that when you put somebody into that culture, they flourished, or if they wanted to flourish. And it all boils down to, you know, one, hiring right. This industry, as you might know, you talk to people in all sorts of clubs all over the planet. I hire and recruit personality and passion for fitness first. If the personality's not there in this industry, it's going to be a tough go. Unless it's someone you need to do books and behind a wall in front of a computer and doesn't associate with people all day. But we are in the people business, and you have to be able to have some strong social skills. You don't have to be completely extroverted, but you can't be introverted. So hire personality first, and somebody that has a desire, that's a sponge, that's a desire to learn and not shut off. And you gotta manage them. I mean, you just gotta manage them. Sometimes people's learning curves, some people get it like this, and other people it's just like, are they ever gonna get it? And then one day the light switch goes off and it's like, okay, great, finally got it. So you have to have patience, and if people are putting the effort in, they show up on time, they're in uniform, they're inspired, they're prepared. When they come to work, you've got some good clay to mold. So we grew a lot of people from within, and we dangled the carrot, the golden carrot, but those were carrots that people can actually eat because they saw their buddy or their coworker getting promoted. And it was always like, why is he getting promoted? Because I should be getting promoted. Well, there's other opportunities coming. You continue down your path. Here's the areas that you need to, this is where coaching comes in. Here's the areas that we see that you need to improve upon and work on. Here's some tools. We're available to help you with the coaching. And follow up. And then create a list, a next generation type of list. And you put these people on them. And when the opportunity comes up, you can put that person in the opportunity.
Right.
And then what we tell them is, look, what happens if we promote you? We pull you out of this club. You're the main glue in this club. So who are you going to groom to take your place? So that kind of system, we worked for a long time, and it worked very well for us. So and then when we got to the point where we were going to go into another state, right? So, okay, who are you going to send out in the other state? You better send a person that knows the brand, that knows the program, that knows the system, and that you can trust, right? You hear today, a lot of people, you go, can't find any good people today. Well, it's not just today. It was yesterday. It was the day before. It was last year. It was 20. Good people are hard to find. First, you got to look for them, because a lot of people are I'm having a hard time finding people. Well, it's because you're not even looking. You know, what are you doing? What plan do you have in place to recruit? Where are you recruiting? Who are you talking to? Well, I really don't have much. Well, let's put a plan in place. So, long answer to a short question, but that it really was the internal growth that helped fuel the mind of Mastro and his vision and his incredible work ethic. Was a great role model for not only me, but for hundreds of others. And I think still is to this day. But it was a special ride. It really was. You know, anything you can do for over 2 decades is, and enjoy it and love to go to work. And the other key element to success in this industry is healthy competition.
Really?
Healthy competition.
Did you have much back then, as much as now?
Oh, hell yeah. Everybody wanted to beat everybody. But it was, competition is alive and well, but separatism is dead. meaning we're all on the same team.
Right.
You know, however, we're all going to be competitive, and you award good behavior. You recognize and identify good behavior and good habits so that it reinforces what you're looking for and strokes the employees and the team at the same time, so they, they continue to do that good work.
You mentioned that separatism is dead. Is that, off camera we were talking about, relationship with I suppose a seemingly big competitor of yours. Is that your approach? Where how do you look at that? Is it like you better kind of developing relationships with your competition because there's enough to go around, or because you obviously view it in a slightly different way to most people?
Yeah, well, separatism, what I meant was dead within the organization.
Okay.
So we're all part of whatever company it is. Crunch. Right now it's Crunch Fitness. We're Crunch, right? And yeah, we'll have healthy competition with the other Crunch,
right,
but our main competition is outside here. There's other competitors out here. So we're all going to work collectively as a team, work within the playbook, and make sure we support one another, even though we're still competitive with one another.
Okay.
I've always felt from a competition standpoint, your number one competitor is yourself and the people that are working for you. And in today's world of business and the health clubs, what I notice is they got a lot of holes in their games. You'll walk in, you're not going to get a friendly greeting, you're not going to get a goodbye. The place isn't as clean or as well maintained as you want it to be. You walk into a club, and I've always trained, I said, you know what, you want to find out how your club is doing? Walk outside, go to lunch, or just walk outside and come back in and open the door and see what slaps you in the face. You could tell a lot of times, because I've been in thousands of clubs, did audits, inspections, I've troubleshot, I've did mergers, but I walk in the door and I can feel, I go, okay, there's trouble in paradise, right? It's just this stress, it's a soap opera, there's bad thing. You can feel it, it's in the air. Otherwise, you open the door and it's got a good vibe. There's people are excited, the members are smiling, and you go, okay, they got some potential here. This is positive, this is fun. And that's what your clients and your potential clients and members feel when they open the doors of your club. And then you have to meet and greet every single person every single time they come in. Eye contact, and hire people that are friendly by nature, and not where you have to force them. Getting back to that personality, you have to have that good, pleasing personality, and they have to be sincere.
Yeah, I noticed when I came in here, I saw there was two people I met straight away, and I didn't know whether it was just because they'd been told I was coming or what, but both of them very smiling, knew me, handshake. Someone else comes around, takes me up. It was kind of like a military operation, but it isn't typical, I suppose. In a lot of
that
businesses.
wasn't staged, by the way, because I don't think they knew who you were. No. And well, that's good that they acted like that. That's great. And how did that make you feel?
Yeah, great. Compared to some, we do a lot of these, even the podcasts, and compared to some, you almost feel as though you shouldn't be there. You're being made to feel uncomfortable, and it's like, oh, okay. Whereas this, you just instantly made to feel welcome, which was nice, Then you're sort of happy to hang around, I guess.
Yeah, it's one. You never get a second chance, they say, to make a first impression. That's kind of true to a degree. I mean, you always want to make a good first impression, but you also, in a health club, when they come, they're going to put their hour, 2-3 hours in. When they leave, how about a lasting impression too? Because sometimes they'll come in and it's busy, there's a guest, there's a phone, there's, classes are starting and whatnot, and the desk staff might be a little busy. However, you might not be able to say hello to this person. So if that happens, I'll instruct some people and I suggest, hey, if you see them come in and you didn't get a chance to say hello, at least wave to them. You can always wave. Make eye contact and wave. It takes 2 seconds. And because our product is a service, and what separates us from the other guys is the experience that people have when they come into this club. And I always say, if you have there'll always be a new club. They'll always have newer equipment. They'll always have the new flavor of the day class, right? And some people might leave, and it might be cheaper. But when they go there, are they going to have that same warm welcoming as they get over here? They're going to miss it, you know? So really just do your best to take care of your members, because that's what, render more service than the member paid for or ever imagined they would get. And if you can do that, and that could be one of your credos, we got a real good chance of winning the game. And fix your own house. And then talking about competition, you got to know your competition. So you should shop your competition, call them up and ask them questions once in a while, take a tour. I'll put my Yankee cap on and put it on backwards, and I'll go in and I'll work out in other clubs from time to time just to see what they're doing. Not that I want to spy or anything. I get some great ideas from other clubs. I mean, I really do. I mean, you can be, you know, I've been in the industry 40 years, but, you know, I could be someone that's in the industry. I know people in industry as long as I've been in the industry, but only have 1 year of experience or 2 years of experience, meaning they learned what they learned in the beginning, but the last X amount of years, they're just doing the same old thing. They're not open to change as they're trying to grow. And you always got to be open. And there's such great minds out there. There's such great ideas. And there's always a different and better way to do things. Just open your mind up to the possibilities.
Yeah. Is that why you do kind of have relationships with some of those competitions? You know, do you sort of meet and share ideas, or what's your approach to that?
Not all of them, but some of them.
Right.
I'm not going to mention any names here in San Diego, but one of the main competitors I meet with probably on a quarterly basis. And we share ideas, and
really?
We're open with one another. It's great. And
what's your thought process behind that then?
Well, you get back to the healthy competition again. And you don't want to be opening clubs across the street from one another, if possible, because both people lose, right? There's a certain population demographic that you need to be within to make a club successful. And so we share, hey, I might be opening a club here. Are you opening a club there? Are you opening a club there? Or, hey, we started this new program. And since we're a value model too, you would go, well, we're thinking about raising our dues. Because when we started the value model, and a lot of people out there that are doing these $10 models, $20 models, and if they started it 8 to 10 years ago, which a lot of them did, or just getting into the market, think about the cost of living over the last of 8 to 10 years. And what the difference is. So your model and your pro forma originally might not be working for you right now. You might be struggling with that bottom line because the dynamics from back then don't work now. The economics are not, so you might have to raise your dues a little bit. And so we've done that in several of our clubs. And not much, but there's still value models. And that has certainly helped, and people recognize that. And the big thing here in San Diego, and it's happening across the country, you know, we're looking at $15 an hour minimum wages coming up soon. And it's already, you know, $12 and rising. So the restaurants are feeling the pinch on that too. So your model has changed, so how do you do it? Can you add hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of incremental members over what your historic records are? Maybe, but not so easy. But you have to raise the dues to the people you currently have. And you raise them according to the cost of living. And, you know, and then you put out a memo, you let them know why, and you'll get a little bit of attrition from that. But most people say, fine, we understand.
Yeah. I guess it's good if you can have that relationship with someone. I suppose it'd get difficult when a few, you know, that other person's after a similar site and you're then in a, you know, head on.
It's happened.
Right.
It's happened. And then, you know, you've got, then you got to deal with it.
Yeah.
And one of the guys out there had said, you know, that SOB just opened a club right across the street from me. And now I got a 10-year lease, and so does he, and we're going to go 10 years, and neither of us are going to make any money. He goes, and I went to them early in the process, and they didn't listen. They said they did it anyway. It's like, okay. So life goes on. I mean, you got to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
You got to deal with it.
Yeah. I guess it's in an ideal world, it's nice to be able to have that relationship with the competition.
Sure
if it's
is.
a benefit for the end user as well. It's just it sounds like it's a difficult thing to wrestle.
Have you
with.
experienced anything like that with competitors?
I've always tried to kind of have to have a relationship. I know some people are like, look, we're not going to talk to them. We're not going to let them on our booth. They're the enemy, and that's it. And I've always tried. Maybe there's times when I'm not, but in general, I've tried to sort of do that and sort of
at least
friendly.
be cordial.
Yeah. I think that's important. And in some cases, it can. It can help everybody, really. It's a tough thing, because I guess at the end of the day, when business is tough, you're then literally fighting it out with each other. But
yeah. Well, getting back to when you asked the question, and my initial response was my competition is myself.
Yeah.
And getting my own house in order and making sure we're doing everything to the best of our ability. You're answering the greeting on the phone, your inquiry when someone does ask for information. Is the person that's answering the phone have the qualified to answer the questions? Book an appointment, get them into the facility, and hopefully make them a member, right? And when they come in, what is the greeting? Is it, hi, fill this out? Like what happens in a lot of clubs. Hey, I want to check the club out. Yeah, fill this out, and we'll show you to the club. Or is it, hey, welcome to the club. How'd you hear about us? Great. Did you want to work out? Do you want to take a tour? Or just get some information? Just want to get some information. Fantastic. If I can have you register as my guest, take a couple of seconds. We'll give you the grand tour and answer all your questions. Fair enough? Fair enough. Great.
Sounds like you've done that a few times before.
A few bazillion times. But you know what? You gotta know it so well you can repeat it in your sleep.
Yeah.
And then it becomes part of the culture and part of the way we operate. And really, every business has to have some basic foundational material. And a telephone inquiry in the gym business, a greeting, and a great tour, and to find out what the person's, so to say, hot buttons are, to make a friend in a short period of time, and then make it easy for them to become a member of your facility. I mean, you have to be able to train and develop and coach and mentor and observe people that are working with you on your team to do that. Not easy. It's a very simple business. Someone told me once, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff I tell you today, I probably heard from somebody else over the years anyway. Because what I'm looking at, when I look at what other companies do over the last couple of decades, it's a lot of the same material, repackaged, rebranded, and a lot of cut and pasting going on. And because they'll take key learnings and best practices from companies that are being effective in what they do, and they'll use it for themselves. But the whole key is, it's great to have the play, but can you execute? It really boils down to the execution.
And going back when the 24-hour Nautilus was there, because the industry was relatively new in terms of this big box model. Where did they get? It sounds like there was such a key emphasis on people, and there were some great systems. Where did they get that? Was that just something Mark, brought with him, or did he have someone who came in with those systems? How did that evolve?
It's a good question. I think the success, like I said, Mark was he was a great friend and a tremendous visionary, but he hired good people, and you can't get it done without good people working collectively together. And we had a great core group of people for a long period of time, and they just put some great programs together. And we evolved, and we always wanted to do better. And developing that system and improving upon that system, and then putting in a new system. Times change. You got to change your approach. But I'm not sure I'm answering the question, but it was really done as a collective effort.
Yeah. So he's bringing people in that kind of had those types of skills, realizing it was important.
Yes.
From those early days and carrying over to now, was getting that financial model a key part. Like we've spent some time on people, which sounds as though it was key to success. But work, and the reason I say that is, you've got a lot of clubs nowadays. Some are making money, but a lot are not. How important, how much time was sort of spent on trying to get that right balance of value, what the customer pays, what experiences they're getting in the club, and what's your thoughts on that? And was there any sort of key lessons there, do you think?
Well, we were revenue producers. You had to drive revenue, new business, and you had to retain the members that you had, hold what you've sold, right? Because it costs 3, 4, 5 times more, depending on who you talk to get a new member than it is to maintain an existing member. So a lot of emphasis was put on retention of members. A lot of reports were done on what percentage of is your retention at. There were programs put in place with exit interviews for members that left us. There was follow-up, there were surveys done. So we tried to find out what we were doing wrong, so to say, or why they left. Besides, I've moved to Alaska. You have no clubs in Alaska. I'm in the military, so I'm overseas, right, and I can't use it. Or I have a medical condition where I can't work out. So that aside, why are people leaving? But we put goals out there. We put some stretch goals on the production side, the new revenue side, the dues side, the retention side. Tracked it very closely. Put incentives out for people that achieved certain levels of performance. Also high pars where they overachieved. And we put some competition in. And over the years, and we did a lot of trips. Like incentives where, hey, we're going to do Puerto Vallarta, we're going to Hawaii, and we're going to go. One trip was to Paris and London, and they put programs together where people go, oh God, I'm going to Europe, and I ended up going on that trip. It was great, and it was like it was a big family, and we drove revenue, but we also were heavily focused on the maintenance. The cleanliness and the repair of the facility itself. So, again, I'm not sure exactly what you were asking me and if I answered the question, but that's pretty much how we achieved success in those days.
And coming back to that then, because again talking to people, from that have originated from there always seems to be sales is a big focus, and they had a really good sales program. And I hear a lot of the stories about the incentives and some parties and that kind of stuff. Do you think at the time they were doing things differently to now? Because I guess bringing in revenue is essential for any business. And they, from what I've seen, they were good at that. Do you think, in general, that's still the case, or is it just a lot more difficult to do that in today's conditions? What's your views on that?
Well, we had a tremendous marketing program, and we had a lot of celebrity models in our ads. That's when newspaper was a viable form of advertising, which it's not so much today. And because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have Facebook, you didn't have Instagram, and all the social media avenues you have today. So it was different.
Right.
So direct mail and newspaper back then was, and small town papers were and internal promotions and guest passes were how you drove guests.
Right.
You drove it over great service and referrals, and then if you have like. Kathy Ireland and all these big celebrity names. Who's the young lady? Pamela Anderson. Before she was Pamela Anderson, coming up, and she does a full page ad in the San Jose Mercury News or the LA Times or whatever it was, and we did a great job on the marketing side. Right. And we drove people into our facilities, and when they did come in, we made sure we did our best to get them happily involved in a fitness program with us. And then when at the advent of personal training came on, because personal training, we had kind of personal training in the 80s, but not so much. Now it's an industry in itself, and that part of the business has really taken off over the last couple of decades. It's really, and it continues to take off. You know, so we added the personal training. Then we added ancillary revenues like Apex and .fit. We added the supplement ingredient, right?
Yeah.
And so that was another revenue stream. So first you just had membership.
Yeah.
And then it was either monthly or annual. That's what your choices you remember. And then you had what was then called aerobics, or years ago jazzercise, then aerobics and group X, and then it's all, to me, it's very similar. It's just different formatting. And between the personal training and the programming today, I think the players in the market today who really nail the programming piece are going to do very well in this market. Because you have, you know, all your HIIT trainings, you have your theories, and your all the different CrossFit and whatever you want to call it. They're all in their own right good programs if you use them. Yeah. But there's a lot of similarities between a lot of these classes. You know, they're small group training programs. You know, you want to go high intensity, low intensity. There's small group training. That was always there, but now they're kind of fee-based or upsell memberships. So if you want this particular program, you pay a little more, right? You get your base membership, and you can do an add-on of this or that. You know.
And with a lot of these, or not a lot, but some of these new clubs, you've got pay-as-you-go, and some of them don't even have sales people in them. You know, you book online. What's after being in the industry for such a long time and seeing where it is today, how much of a difference do you think it can make from having a really good dialed-in sales process and sales team to kind of enhance your revenue opportunities compared to sort of not doing that? What's your view on that?
Well, it's a great question. Companies I worked with in the past had sales teams, right? Depending on the size of the club, the revenue expectations of the facility, they had a sales team. Some had 3, some had 4, some had 8 or 10. Today, with Crunch Fitness, there are no commissioned salespeople. And that was a big switch for me 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. And that no salespeople? How do you run a club with no salespeople? That's crazy. But then I opened my ears and mind up to the possibility, and we have what's called member service reps in all of our clubs. So you have a manager, you have a member service rep, and depending on the revenues, the personal trainer, you might have a fitness manager or a fitness head trainer in the facility. But the revenues today, what were we just talking about on
the generating revenue? So salespeople.
Yeah, the member service representatives, they do it all.
Really?
They're the receptionist. Okay, they'll take a tour. They do light sales, but they're not commissioned.
Right.
So a lot of the Crunch business, what I found is, based on price and good service, the referral business, it wouldn't be unusual in a day in the first couple of clubs we opened up to have 6, 8, 10, 12 people come in and say, hey, I'm here to join, I'm here to join, I'm here to join. Hi, can I help you? Yeah, I'm here to join. Yeah, I want to join. How do I join? And I started going, wow, we're getting a lot of referrals. 1, we were doing a good job with marketing. 2, we were doing a great job on the service. And 3, we were priced right. We had really nice facilities. And I look at a Crunch club, even the first phase of the Crunch clubs, and I go, man, this is a $30, $40 a month club. And we're charging 10 to 20 bucks. And what we did was we opened up the door for a lot more people to work out because they couldn't afford $30 or $40 a month, but they could afford 10, right? And so that helped us out a lot. But a member service rep, getting back to them, they take a tour, they'll present pricing, they'll even present personal training because we have incentives at point of sale, and they'll help with the cleaning of the facility, right? They'll handle cash, they'll answer phones, and they pretty much do it all. So we train the member service rep at some point, a lot of them can be a manager for you, or at least a department head for you, but no commissioned salespeople. So now, if you say, should you have salespeople in this environment, in the Crunch Fitness environment, in these value models, I don't think you really can have.
No.
If you have a super high volume facility, maybe you have one sales director, but in our model, the way I like to model it is the general manager is a pretty good sales manager, right? So he can he can take a lot of the tours that come in, answer the phones, and help out in enrollment situations. But you have your general, and he usually has his top MSRs, and that's kind of how we run the business. And it's been very, very successful. But it was a big transition for someone growing up over 2 decades with a sales team. Right?
Yeah.
It was tough.
And do you think that that's worked for you because you've just seen that works today a lot better than probably how things used to be done, would you say?
Yeah. I'm not opposed, and there's a couple of Crunch operators out there that do have a couple of salespeople on their team, and that's fine. And I wouldn't rule it out in every single situation. But like I said, the member service rep is also a member sales rep, and they need to know how to give a tour, present programs, overcome some small objections, and ask for the sale. We just say, hey, the only thing you want to assume is that they came here to join. All right? Give them a great tour, make a friend, go over the programs, ask them, say, hey, based on everything you told me, this probably is the best program for you. However, it's your choice. I'll support you in any decision you make. Which one would you like to get started with today? And then sit back and smile and wait for an answer. And if you could teach your people to do the basics, and you can you do a good job with the clean, friendly, well-maintained, servicing your members, and making them friends, they're going to send their friends, families, and co-workers into you to join. And a lot of people come in and go, what brings you in today? I don't know, my friends, and then I heard you at work, and I saw this, and I was, So there's a lot of marketing that we do and networking that we do at Crunch. That at a corporate level, at the franchisor level, they do a great job in supporting us. And this is a franchise, and it was my first soiree into a franchise. And I must say that if anybody's interested, and this isn't a plug for Crunch because it's just coming from the heart, they've been nothing but super supportive. They do quality work. Right from their construction to their operations to manuals to everything. It's like, for the old timers out there, it's like color forms or managing a business by numbers. They give you a book, and if you can just read the book and you put some energy and effort behind it, you can be successful. And I'm very, very impressed with what they've done from a finance level, from a support level, from a creative level, now from a marketing level. It's just a great group to be with. Yeah. And it's been a great experience for me.
How do you get and keep those people then? Because I guess if you've had salespeople and they're great, they're bringing in a lot of people, I suppose they're kept through commissions and bonuses and that. How if people want a fixed salary, has that been difficult to kind of train? Because I guess you're training someone to be kind of like pretty unique. They've got all these skills, and then you're like, well, I don't want to lose you because you.
You better find a new club and a new position for them to give them a little bit more money or more opportunity. And we get people plucked out of our clubs, all the good ones, because you have business people coming in here all the time. They're looking for good employees, right? Yeah. And we lose them from time to time. I've been very fortunate over the years to have high retention with people, even if they're not making a whole lot of money. In our industry, I like to look at people that are either fitness nuts, and just that's part of who they are. They have a passion, that's their life. People that are going to school to do something in the fitness industry. They might be living at home or have 7 or 8 roommates, so their overhead isn't all that high. And people that want to learn. So I don't hire, so I need to make $100,000 a year. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have a position for you right now. So taking those people, and today's day, here in California, I think there's 75% of the home people get divorced. So there's a lot of single parenting going on out there, and usually the single parent is out there working, right? So the kids, they don't get a lot of attention, or those kids. So taking those kids under our wing and coaching them up and being there for them and being like a second family for them, that's been very helpful. It's been great and rewarding for me over the years to see somebody come in, be a little like a lost soul, and maybe 19, 20, 21 years old, and really no direction, and giving them that direction and giving them that encouragement, and watching them buy their first car, and then watching them buy their first house, and then watching them progress from just not knowing what the hell they wanted to do, and now they're a manager, a district manager, a regional manager, and they have a wife and they have a kid, and that to me is as important as the money, and if not more important. And because the money always comes, you do the right thing, the money follows. And but people development is a real key, especially with groups that want to grow. If you say, okay, in my bandwidth, in my runway right now, I want 2 clubs. Okay, you got to think differently. But if you're an operator out there in any industry or any business, and you want multiple locations, you got to have a people plan in place on how you're going to develop those people to fuel that growth. It's great to go, okay, I got 2 clubs, now we're getting 3 more. That's great. Who the hell's going to run them, right? So you always need. That's where the development from the inside, if they're with you over a period of time, and opportunity comes up when you least expect it. And I always say, and it goes to those people that are prepared and productive at the time of the opportunity. You get some credit for past performance, but if you haven't done anything in the last 2-3 years, and an opportunity comes up, guess what? These people that are performing and productive and doing everything are going to get that opportunity. So it all depends on what the company's growth plan is. Myself and my age right now, my career, I'm phasing out of a lot of things and trying to do a little bit less and get into more of the consulting instead of the day-to-day management and supervision of clubs. And I'm looking at new opportunities out there in the industry, along with Crunch, and nothing that would be in any way competitive with a Crunch. It wouldn't be a fitness center, but in the fitness space. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opportunity out there, and so it's kind of how I look at growth and opportunity.
And retaining those people, then it sounds like your plan is to sort of, kind of bring them along with you and show them of the opportunities, as opposed to sort of having to sort of keep them financially by keep paying them more. Yours is like, okay, look, we're going to develop you, we're going to start you here, and we're going to help more than just give you a job. Would that be correct?
Well, here in the San Diego market, the team over the last 7 years has opened up 12 clubs. So that's 12 opportunities for manager, 12 opportunities for fitness managers. And people don't do well or leave the company, or they're not performing, and you'd have to replace that. So that might be another opportunity. So there's opportunity for people that want it, and they go, okay, well, I remember when they just started, now they're a manager, but it's tough to keep them on board when you're not paying them a whole lot of money. That's why, for a member service rep, if they're going to school, they're living at home, their overhead isn't all that high, their requirement isn't all that high, and you could reward them with coaching and an education, a business education that they're not going to get in school. That adds a lot of value to what they're doing. And if they feel supported at work, and they like where they work, and they're getting encouraged, they tend to stay longer. And I have people that have been with me 20 years, and through a couple of companies, and started out when they were going to college and just stayed on. I've had people that have been with me a long time and done very well and got other opportunities and moved on and have come back. Just recently we had somebody that was with me for a long time and got married, had another opportunity inside his family to do something else, left for a couple of years and just came back as a manager for us. So it's like old home week, you know. It's like, it's great to have them back.
Yeah.
So, and then they say good things about you, and they'll refer people into you as well.
So over the years, I've heard that you've managed as much as 100 clubs. Like, how have you been able to be present and connected with that many people? And I guess even now, you know, you're probably looking at other opportunities, but there's, you know, I'm sure there's still a connection with the people you work with. Certainly the people I talk to, they give that impression. How are you present and yet you have to, you know, but you're not, how do you be present and not present? How do you get that balance?
It's people. It's that quality people and the people that you've brought up, you know, through the ranks over the years. You know, if you have 80, 90, 100 clubs, you probably have, I don't know, sort of 15 district managers, 2 or 3 regional managers. And so you manage your facilities through your team. And you also have to get out. You got to get out. And when I had, you know, 80 to 100 locations, I said, okay, my plan is to try to get in every location once a quarter. You know, and at least, and when I get in there, it wouldn't be like the old seagull fly in and then zoom out. I'd get in and I'd spend some quality time with people, meet with the people, and sit them down one at a time, or take them out to lunch and take them out to dinner, and really find out what was going on. And before I go into a facility and before the district or regionals would instruct them, make sure you look at the financials, you look at their year to date, you know what the hell is going on, the areas that they're doing well, that they need a little help with. Don't just walk in, say, I'm here, and then walk in the back office and get on a phone and call the other clubs. If you're in a facility, make sure you're in that facility and you spend time with that team, because it's so important. Hand out your business cards with your cell phone number and say if there's anything that you need that and help with, that you can't get help with at your club or district, just reach out to me. You know, I hardly get any calls, but at least they know, okay, I got a card and I can call them if I want. You know, because, and if they do call me, I'd always ask, have you talked to your district manager? Have you talked to your regional manager about this? What would they say? Do you think you would, you know? But just being there for your people and being supportive and, you know, taking care of everybody, like the babysitters, the janitors, you know, and really, because they're like the forgotten people in a lot of your health clubs, you know. But your Group X instructors too, they come in, you know, they're like the pulse of the club. They really are, your Group X teams. And they'll come in, they'll do their hour class. Sometimes they'll run in, they'll sign in, they're in a rush. They go to their class, they take the class, after class they get people talking to them, and they leave. Go by their club, classroom, look in the room, get the instructor's attention, wave to the instructor, and then try to catch him or her on the way out and say, great class, you know, good job. You make, even if it's a quick interaction, and you should be the same way with your members, you know, interact with your members and your customers as much as possible, because that's your future, you know. And get back to hold what you sold, the retention is the key in this industry. It really, really is. And then once they're retained, you can, and they're comfortable with you, you've made a friend, they become a lot easier to promote on anything that you want to promote them on. If you don't do that, you want to go, hey, we got this new promotion. Hey, get away from me. You know, it's like, don't bother me. You never talk to me. Now you want to sell me something? Get away from me. So it's a simple business, but it's not easy. It's not rocket science, but it's hard. You know, you've got to know what you're doing. Yeah. It really boils down to the people on both sides, the people you hire and the members you get, and getting them to work cohesively.
And you know, a lot of people also talk about firing people and when to fire and being quick to fire. What's your views on when to make that decision?
Well, you've got some non-negotiables. You lie, you cheat, you steal, you harass, you misrep, you're gone. I mean, you just can't put up, and you have to make that clear in the onboarding and the hiring process. And what we've done over the years is we do background checks, so you're not hiring felons to start with. But you got to be real clear. You lie, you cheat, you steal, you misrep, you harass, you're gone. There's no business. But if it's like, a tardiness issue, you got good workers just can't seem to get to work on time. They're always 5-10 minutes late. You set the clock by, this one guy used to set the clock by him showing up 20 minutes late every day. He'd stay an extra 20 minutes or an hour at night if you needed him, but you'd always say, look, man, you got to show up for work. So the thing is, you got to write it down. You do a verbal. The next step would be, okay, you remember we had that conversation last week about you showing up? Okay, right now, I'm going to give you a verbal warning. And it's going to be written, a written verbal. So we're going to write it up and say, hey, showed up late for work. We talked about it twice. Sign right here that we had this conversation. Boom, boom, boom. And next time you show up late, I'm going to break out this piece of paper. I'm going to sit down, and then I'm going to give you your final warning. All right? Kind of like baseball. You get 3 strikes and you're out. You could suggest, ask, tell, terminate. That's different strokes for different folks when it comes to firing and hiring, but that's kind of how I operate. I'll suggest how to do something. I'll ask them to do something. If they're still not, I'll tell them to do something, and then I get to terminate. But you really need to, in the litigious world we live in, especially in California, and you're liberal in more liberal states, everyone wants to sue you for everything. Write it down, and if you have a real troubled employee, and that might go, you know what, he's pointing me out, he's discriminating, he's singling me, get your operations manager or a district or somebody else as a witness to the conversation. So when you fill out the discussion that you've had, a PIP, you could put a personal improvement plan in place for this person. But make sure it's written and you track it. Don't go, well, I told him 10 times. Well, the judge go, well, show me what you told him. And it becomes a he said, she said. You want to avoid those situations. You really have to have like the one arm length rule, no hugs, no kisses, no, public displays of affection with your members or your staff or one another. And just respect everybody, no off-colored jokes. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't misrep, don't harass, because those are the 5 non-negotiables. You're done.
And what about the things that are not kind of that simple, like time, as you say, time related, I guess is a fairly straightforward one, but what about more sort of performance? Do you have a really good sort of system of measurement in all kind of parts of the business so you can say, well, look, you've either achieved what is set out and defined or not? Is that part of what you do?
You should have.
Okay.
You should have, and that's where that PIP, or personal improvement plan, comes in place. Well, you'll sit down and say, hey, what I've observed, here's the areas that you're responsible for, here's where you're coming up a little bit short. This is a specific situation that happened, and please let us know if you need some help in this area in improving your skill set here. But if there is no improvement, we're going to have a harsher conversation next time. Yeah.
Do you think it's easy when you've got a lot of clubs like that for people to clearly understand expectations, or is that a real key thing for you to make sure they do?
Well, it comes with the onboarding. It comes with regular meetings and conference calls. There's so much to do in any business on a daily basis. So if you can break it down, like you have an employee handbook, different operators will take that employee handbook, and it's probably a 20, and one or 2 sections a month, and that's they bake that into their training. Right? Others will go more heavily into the sales training on a month. Some will combine both. I haven't really had a set formula per se, but we'd have our regular meetings with our management team. We'd have our regular conference calls weekly usually to review and recap. And we kept that going for as long as I was in business, and still to this day. Yeah.
How often do you train your sort of key people?
Well, I mean, I'm not doing that much anymore.
Yeah.
And but when I was, it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and it was a lot of on-the-job training. But it was all get your general managers out, then get your fitness managers out, get your operations managers out, and have specific meetings with specific agendas, at least on a monthly basis. It usually was monthly. And then you have your collective meeting once a month, once every month. You know, we've been at meetings and divisional meetings with 200 plus management people in there just from your group. So you got to entertain them a little bit. You got to coach them and train them a little bit. You got to, you know. It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it's a everyday type of thing, reinforce. But if you have a great foundation, right, you don't have to keep going back and training everybody on the basics of the business.
Do you have people now that do that in place of you and your company now?
Yeah.
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 Right. And what are your non-negotiables in terms of your day? And I guess when probably more case when you was a little bit more involved in the business. But what were the things that you used to, in a day and a week, you would always, you know, whether they're your checks of things that you have to do? What were some of those key things that drove you?
Yeah. I'm a clean freak. If you're in a health club, you should at least be clean, right? It says it should be clean. And that's everybody's job. Everybody needs to know that nobody's above cleaning. You know the old saying, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. So when someone would lean, we'd give them a spray bottle and a rag, and I go, okay, I guess I'm cleaning. And we make sure you got to do, and the clubs have locker rooms, and they get used a lot. Regular locker room checks every half hour. Have somebody go through that locker room, close the doors, pick up the papers, wipe down the sinks, check the supplies out, right? And making sure the club's equipment, the padding is up to speed. Make sure when I mentioned to you earlier, when you open that door, there's a pulse in that club. There's energy in that club. And it's not a soap opera, right? Because if you have a soap opera for a manager, the whole staff, you know, is going to be in that soap opera, and they're going to be, it's a distraction. You know, if you have a manager that's a snail, that moves at a snail pace, and has that little slimy stream behind them, everybody else is going to be moving slow. So no snails. But making sure people are engaged, making sure people are engaged with the members, observing personal training workouts, and sitting down and meeting with individuals and small groups inside the club, reinforcing that monthly message, the monthly plan that we have in place.
Mm. Yeah, okay. And is there any things that within your own, like, you know, things that you do personally, like, you know, workouts or your own planning or meditation or anything that you do for yourself?
Well, if you don't work out, you go crazy. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's a stress level in the world today, never mind when you have multiple operations and thousands of employees. The stress level is great. If that's our business, you should be modeling that behavior. I like to get into the gym at least 4 times a week, you know, if I can, 6 times a week. I'm an early morning person. I don't know how people work out if, you know, 5, 6 o'clock on a Monday night. So I usually get in around 5:30 in the morning, and I do my workout. Nothing intense. I'm anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes is my workout, depending on my mood and my schedule and whatnot. And it's some cardio, it's some weight training, it's some functional training, and more cardio, and then I'm out. And it's no more than that. I'll take some classes from time to time, and if I do, it's yoga and some mat Pilates classes. You'll never catch me in a Zumba class, and a lot of the dance classes, you're not going to catch me in those. But like I said to you earlier, hiring people that have fitness as a passion and part of their life is really critical. One, they look the part, they sound the part, they're learning how to be professionals in the health club arena, and that's the kind of people you want working with you.
What's your view with with like having a peer group? So you talk a lot about managing people that are working for or with you. What about, I suppose, ideas and people that support you? I guess I'll use the word above, but just people that can kind of give you advice. It sounds like when you was at 24, you had this rock star team.
Yes.
Is that still important, or has it been important? When you started the Crunch business, and what sort of things do you do if that?
Well, when we first started, the Crunch people were only had a few clubs, right, on the franchise side, and we were all talking on a regular basis because we were trying to figure out the direction, and we were making some tweaks in the model, and how's this working? But now they're pushing, I think 300 clubs open, 1,000 clubs sold, something like that, and it's big, it's growing. And over the last few years, I've been pretty busy with the team out there and partners out there growing this brand in San Diego. And like I said, it's very important to have that peer group, and I've kind of recently reached out and reconnected with some of my old workers and teammates and whatnot, and it's refreshing because I feel good bouncing ideas and talking to them. I haven't had that so much over the last couple of years, and I miss it. I think it's critically important to have that peer group and that constant communication. Yeah.
How does it differ working for I guess a corporate group compared to a franchise where I guess you're sort of running a fixed model? What's the differences, and what's the pros and cons for those two models?
Yeah, kind of different strokes for different folks. It's really completely different, but in a lot of ways the same. It's great to have all that support. It's great, when I first started with the franchise with my partners in San Diego, it was like starting from scratch, but it was easy because Crunch had the programs in place, but it was still a work in progress. You still had to implement it. You still had to get your file systems together. You still had to get your operating procedures in place, and a lot of it you were creating on your own, So building as you grow, you need to build your back office capabilities. So that was different. At the other companies I was with, it was easy because it was a great back office. You can always use them as a resource. Even Crunch being the franchisor now, if I have questions on equipment or financing or marketing or sales, I just pick up a phone. And 9 out of 10 times they answer the phone. And if they don't answer the phone, I get a call back pretty quick. Emails get responded to. They're super efficient, and they got a dynamic team, which is great. It wasn't right there when you were part of a corporation. Plus, part of a corporation, all the liabilities on the corporation when you're on a franchisee. You got a lot of personal liabilities on there that's different. You signed on leases, you signed building leases, equipment leases. Corporations, they sign on the lease, and something goes wrong, it's them. Something goes wrong here, it's us, me. So that way it's different.
Right. And what do you think? I know you've obviously been part of a good franchise, but what do you think is the difference between, if you're looking for one, what makes a good franchise compared to one that's not good? What are your non-negotiables that people should look for in that?
I was part of a bad franchise.
Really?
I'm not going to tell you who it
Okay.
was. It was in the fitness space, and it was a terrible experience. And I'm part of a great franchise right now with Crunch. Difference is, Crunch has direction, has mission statements, has a purpose, is organized, and is available to you. Other company didn't really know what direction it was going in. Went through several CEOs in a matter of 2 years. Had a lot of change. Couldn't get answers to questions. And material was slim to none. So there was a big difference. And that franchise still struggling to this day. But having them, Crunch will take you in for a week into New York office. I think now they're going down to Florida, but the New York office, they'll take you in for a week, and they'll spend an entire week, 7-8 hours a day, training you how to be a franchisee. I mean, the program's just, it's spectacular. I mean, there's so much. Now they're starting their Crunch University, and they just got so much support available. And anybody looking to go into a franchise of any kind, I would, through personal experience, recommend you do that research on who these people are, where they come from, what's available to you from a supporting support network standpoint before you even make a decision to do anything.
Yeah.
And make sure you're well funded. Make sure you have at least 3 to 6 months of operating capital before you go in, because I think you're going to hit the ground running to be a success, overnight success. It's just not the case. Some, even at the other companies I was with, clubs could take a year, 18 months to stop breaking even. So in a corporation, the corporation picks up that burn. In a franchise, you're picking up the burn. Who is that money coming from if you're not funded well? So that's another big difference between corporate and franchise.
Yeah. I guess with your experience, you must have been able to make your own idea, you know, like John's Gym. But what made you decide to go down that road as opposed to saying, well, look, you know, I could probably do this stuff differently or in my own way?
Well, the people behind Crunch really helped seal my decision.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. I wouldn't have gotten involved, I don't think, in any other fitness franchise out there, because I don't want to either. I don't like the model. I don't want to be stuck in 2,000 square foot or 3,000 square foot all day. And it's really not where my heart is. And I will, at some point, open something. My future plans it's been a work in progress. There's a few things I'm working on, and one is, since when I was a kid, average life expectancy, I think, for men was in the high 60s. Now it's in the low 80s. Kids born today, I think their life expectancy is in the 90s. So what does that mean? That means people are living longer. So what applied when I was a kid, my generation was kids, doesn't apply today, because Social Security, you know, was 65, you collected at full retirement. Now it's 66 for me, 67 for younger folks, and it's going to go up. It's going to continue to rise. And then after that, okay, I'm retired. What am I going to do for the next 35 years? Before, it was people were only expected to live to 60, 65, 70 years old. Women, early 70s. So, okay. But now they're living to 100 and healthy. So what are you going to do for another 30 years? Does your financial plan take into consideration an extra 30 years of life or 20 years of life? So that market, that mature market, is a market that's very interesting to me right now, that I'm exploring as some possibilities with some folks about getting into that segment of the market.
Yeah. As part of your driver being the financial one, so that you can be, you know, sort of financially in the position that you want to be, has that been a key part in your career?
No. Not at the first couple of companies I was with, because it was a corporation, and I made good money because I performed well. And when I got up to a district and a regional and a divisional level, the money was really, really good. And so I saved, and I did well. And, you know, the franchise, you end up spending money. Yeah. And a lot of it's personal money. And so it's different. It's been a different experience for me.
Right.
But I want to do something. I'm in my late 60s. So, but I'm a 40-year-old, I'm a 60-year-old, if that makes sense, because I have energy, I have drive, I want to go to work, I want to do something. I could still put in 8-10 hours a day if need be, and I'm just looking to, either continue to grow the Crunch brand, which I've kind of tapered out with right now, and or get into something in the fitness space. A friend of mine up in the longtime friend of mine and former kid I mentored for many, many years is rolling out something very, very soon with artificial intelligence as it relates to the fitness space, as it relates to smart equipment, interactive equipment. So their patents are through, and I'm helping him out in some degree for his launch, which is going to be coming up soon, where he could turn every piece of equipment into an interactive piece of equipment with some real-time feedback, and pretty exciting stuff. And artificial intelligence is like the buzzword and the thing of the future that for in a lot of areas, and it's very exciting to me. I didn't know anything about computers growing up, and there were no such thing as computers or cell phones, and this is new. So what am I going to do if God lets me live another 20 or 30 years? What am I going to do the next 20 or 30 years? Sit on a couch, or golf, or go to the Elks Club? I don't know. What am I going to do? I want to be, helping some company or my company or our company do something, but my segment of the market, I'm not going to eliminate the rest of the market, because we're going to be all inclusive, but it'll be highlighted, because all your insurance companies right now, you have Silver and Fit and Active, Silver Sneakers. You get into Medicare, you get a free membership. You get a supplemental plan with this company, you get a free fitness membership, right? Because they realize if their subscribers are working out, they're not going to be making as many claims, right? And so they encourage people to work out. And there's a lot of them. Right now, in the next couple of years, there's going to be more seniors than there are kids. And it's in 10 years, every baby boomer, in less than 10 years, every baby boomer will be 65 or older. And they make up, I think, just close to 30 million people. And those are the people that have expendable income, that have the time, that need to work out, because nobody wants to be sick and bedridden. It's okay to be happy, healthy, and horny, as long as you want. But you have to take steps, and exercise and proper nutrition are the steps you need to take to live a happy, healthy life.
If you were to sort of, if something was to happen and you were, wiped out everything that you'd earned over those years, and you started from a blank piece of paper just with the knowledge that you've got, what today, with all the different opportunities and the boutique and the low cost, what would be one of the first things that you would, what would you do to start? No money, no investors or anything. What would you do?
I don't know. Probably buy some equipment from you and open up a small studio somewhere.
Really?
I don't know. Truthfully, I've never been asked that question. And to start with no money, find people with money. Yeah. First, put a plan together, put a pro forma together, and a business model. And I would probably just go after your everyday workout person, and have some cardio, have some circuits, have some classes. Charge, somewhere in the area of $30-40 a month, get good rents, good location, good parking, and open one club. People today, they think they have to open 1 million different clubs, but you get one good club and you can make 800, $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.3 million a year.
From one club.
From one club. Most people would be happy with that. Yeah. So with one club, you don't have the headaches of 5 clubs or 20 clubs or 10 clubs. bigger is not always better
Right.
when it comes to an operator. I mean, it all depends on what people's bandwidth is, what their runway is, what their motivation is. Right now, my motivation is different than it was 10 years ago. If I can have one location where I could go in 25, 30 hours a week, right, interact, add some value, do some marketing, and make whatever, 10,000, 20,000, pick a number. It all depends, what's your overhead? How much money do you need? You got to bake it all in. Me personally, I'd have one club, make $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year, and live happily ever after. I do some consulting work, right, in businesses, and I like that kind of work where I'll go in, I'll troubleshoot, and I'll analyze and help out, and they're pretty easy to figure out.
Really?
They're pretty easy to figure out, especially in health clubs, what's right and what's wrong, and make some quick fixes. And I'm going to do more consulting work as I maintain the Crunch Fitness Centers currently. But from a growth standpoint, like I said, I've kind of backed out, and people morph as you grow and you get older. Your goals, your values stay the same, but your goals kind of change.
Yeah. And what's with when you work with those clubs? What are some of the things that in most cases that people generally don't get right that that can transform their business if they do sort that out? Not to do out of your consultancy job, but
I mean it's real simple to observe. They've just got unmotivated people that aren't trained. A lot of franchisees, you mentioned it earlier, there's a lot of clubs that make money, there's a lot of clubs that don't make money. Ones that don't make money are usually the people that have absentee ownership, and they'll open a franchise, whether it's a yoga shop or a health club, and they never visit their facility, business, and they have young help that really doesn't give a crap about working or not, and they usually fail. I mean, you have to me, if you're going to be a franchisee, you really need to go visit your stores and have good, competent people that are well-trained with good personalities that you can trust, because people are getting ripped off left and right. You got lazy. You ever walk in a mall? You ever walk in a shopping center or anything? And you walk into a store. Most people are like this. They're on the phone talking to their friends when they're on the clock. And it isn't one store or two stores or three stores. It's a lot of stores. Or they'll just go, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "No, that's okay. I'm good for now." And that's it. "Can I help you?" I hate that. "Can I help you?" They don't say hello. They say, "Can I help you?" How about hello? How are you? Good to see you. Welcome to the store. Any questions, ask me. Right? It's just, it's crazy. I walk in a club, they're out of uniform, right? They not greeting the guest. There's half the people aren't checking in, so you don't know how many people are working out. Nobody's walking the club. Free weight room's a mess. Locker room, all the doors are open, papers all over, there's floods, nobody cares. Broken equipment, ribbed equipment. Just a little TLC going in and saying, "Okay, guess what? The party's over, so we're going back to work. Do you know what you're supposed to be doing?" "Well, no, nobody really trained me." Or, "No, somebody just spent a day with me and then left me on my own. I really don't know what the hell to do." You get that a lot in a club. So fix it up, Clean the place up, touch up some paint, put some systems in place. I've always said, along with the people that I've been blessed to be with over the years, just by walking into a club and going to work and putting the people to work that are working there, that you'll see a 20% lift immediately, and without doing much more than that. It's scary how much people don't care about their own businesses.
Yeah, I guess people think, particularly with franchises, that this is the model and you can just put someone in there and it will run itself.
It makes you money, does it?
A money machine.
No, unless it's a McDonald's. But I mean, you got to run a McDonald's properly too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So before my final question, if people are interested in connecting with you for your consultancy or anything, where can they find you?
They can find me at romeoathome@yahoo.com.
Okay.
ROMEOATHOME@yahoo.com.
Right. We'll put that in the notes as well, just in case anyone's looking.
Yeah, but if if we're closing it out right now, I mean, my main focus is Crunch, and I really want to let people know that after being 8 years from the beginning with Crunch, it's been a great experience for me. And if you're ever going to get into a franchise of any kind, really dig down deep into the franchise, who's running it, what the support level is, how accessible they are. Go to other franchises that are open, speak to the franchisees in that company you're thinking of going with, which I've had dozens of people come to the Crunches I've been operating that were thinking about and spend a day or spend a few hours with me. That's what people should do. Just hard work is not is a four-lettered word, but it's not work. The letter work. The word work. It's a four-letter word, but it's to some people it's like when you go to work. Do something. Not, hey, I've arrived, I can smoke a cigarette and take a break right now. Get to work and put an honest day's pay in, work in for an honest day's pay. That's it.
Yeah, that's right. I suppose it's an interesting thing you say, but sometimes you can, when you get there, it's like, okay, that, you've achieved, you're there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now it's time to do something.
Yeah.
Now it's time to do something. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so final question then, John.
Sure.
What escape your limits is about escaping what either you've believed is impossible or somebody else has said that's impossible. What would be an example in your business career where you've escaped your own personal limits?
Where I've escaped my own I think going through this franchise experience has helped me grow. From a business operator standpoint, because working for a corporation, there's a lot of safety nets in there and there's a lot of support. Stepping out and doing it on your own was a completely different experience for me, and it was challenging. And again, I got through it with good people, and I don't know if that's answering your question, but that's kind of, I stretch my capabilities, and you can teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah. Absolutely can. You just got to put enough effort into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, John, there's a fantastic book of information there, I'm sure useful for many people that are in the business, and I appreciate you being open and sharing everything with us. So I wish you a lot of success in the future in your new ventures, and hopefully
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.